The word of 2026 for me is the word human. Who else is feeling the word human is a word they've heard a lot more of than in the previous few years? Why is that, do you think? So I believe that that's because the most important part of any change in any organization is people. It's interesting that we're using the word human because we've got this new thing we've got to grapple with called AI. So there's a new player in town. And so instead of just being people, and we've always done the work and we've used tools, now we've got a new digital worker with us. So we are now starting to think about what it means to be a human at work. What are the things that we do uniquely well that cannot be replaced by an AI? But also, how do we use these tools to give us the capacity to do more interesting work? Let's face it, most people are incredibly productive, and the things that get in the way are process and technology. And the issue for us as people and as humans is we want to do less manual, repetitive, and it is important work, but we want to do it less manually and with less stress. Chasing between swivel chair applications and trying to get data where we need it to be. That's what AI is for. AI is here to help automate the drudgery. And so the subtitle of my presentation is The Rise of the Human in the Age of AI. These lights are very bright, by the way, so I know you can see me, which is good, but all I see is blue. So it's a little confronting. So that's, I'm going to try and weave that part through my whole presentation, but I also need to talk about building an AI frontier organization. Now, that's not just for big businesses. An AI frontier organization is already out there today, nibbling at the heels of an existing business, and they're going to show up as AI native, but AI native is AI frontier. So what I want to talk to you about today is how do you go from where you are today to being an AI frontier organization? So to do that, and it wouldn't be, let's move that, and it wouldn't be AI unless I had done something a little bit over the top. So instead of just running a PowerPoint presentation, I built an entire application in TypeScript to run my presentation from scratch. And I was thinking to myself, I don't want to ever create a PowerPoint presentation again. Now, 2 years ago, 18 months ago, I simply could not do that, right? They simply wouldn't have been possible. So I want you to think about what is possible in your world today when you can build the equivalent of PowerPoint in about 8 hours and about $100 worth of tokens. Right? That's just, it's actually a little bit absurd when you think about it. What are the things that you could do? Now, I was a Perl junkie, and I last wrote Perl in 2004. And I wrote a little bit of SQL between 2008 and 2012. So I am not a current programmer, but I do understand engineering, I do understand architecture, I do understand design, and I do know that what machines will do and make mistakes. So this is what you're seeing, and that's what I'm seeing. So I built myself an application so I can drive my presentation the way I want to do it. And that's what I'm talking about, is I want to do work my way. So Harvard Business School has a really excellent definition, I think, of an AI frontier organization. A new organization, a new class of organization that puts AI at the heart of its business strategy. Not its technology strategy, but it's business strategy. So who are you? What do you want to do? What are your business objectives? What do your shareholders want? Where are you going? What is the vision for you as an organization? An AI frontier organization is one that says, how can I use AI to achieve that? To reinvent how I do work. How do I complement the people who know my customers, who know my processes, who know my business, who know my suppliers, who know my partners? How can I get my people spending more time with my network than simply doing tasks? And to innovate and augment human capacity at scale. So I like that definition because I think it's quite bold, and it doesn't talk about technology. It talks about business strategy. So Justin talked a little bit about this. This is the other word of AI, which is adoption. And adoption, in our view, is using AI. That's doing a little proof of concept, building yourself a little agent, prompting, And what it is, it's replacing a task, but it's not changing the workflow. So the more important word, and I think it was the Google chap, whose name I can't remember earlier on, it's adaptation, right? So there's no point in automating work the way we do it today when we can do that work a different way. So adoption is using AI to automate the way we work today. It doesn't really make sense to automate the way we work today because that's based on legacy tech. It's based on legacy processes. We should be adapting the way we work and trying to think about new ways to do it. And a prime example, building an application to run my presentation. So you will need agents governed by guardrails. And I'm going to talk about an agent suite for your organization. That's going to sound fanciful, but it is coming. And you're going to need your people to be using their judgment, their critical thinking, what Justin mentioned, right? Because we're going to need to make sure these agents do what we thought they were supposed to do. Now, the nice thing about this tool that I built myself is I get a little notification that tells me when I've run out of time for that slide. PowerPoint doesn't do that. So that's a new way of working. So now I can actually set my timer up and I've got 1 minute, 32 seconds. And I can drive my presentation exactly the way I want. So I want you to imagine now, if I'm over here, this is where I am today. This is my organization. I have a choice. I can start moving towards the future. I can step this way. Or I can go straight to the fuzzy frontier, right? And there's a little bit of light over here, so I will still hopefully be in light. This is the fuzzy frontier of technology where everything is moving at the speed of light. Now I need to know, where does it come into focus for me in my business, in my context with my business strategy? Where does AI make sense to me so that I can say, I want to get here. And instead of working from there to here, I'm going to stand here and work backwards and build the foundations to get to where I want to go. So I think you need to look at your business strategy, your vision, and what you're trying to work out. How close to the fuzzy frontier of technology can you get and be comfortable with your risk appetite and your opportunity and your budget? Once you know where that is, then you've got to build towards that goal. Don't build from where you are and looking that way. You need to stand in the future and work out what you've got to do to get to that future. That's not a new idea. Actually, TOGAF invented that idea, which is an architecture framework, which I encourage you not to try and pass the test on. Tried and failed, but it's a really neat idea. So here I have the edge of capability. I have a functional lead, and I've got a scenario here. And as people, how do we do work? We do work by forming a thought in our mind. What is the thought that I have? And then we have to convert that thought into mouse clicks and drop downs and, open tabs and shift between tools. We immediately lose flow as soon as we do that. Whereas what I really care about is where is the claim blocked and what's the next best reply for the customer? That's what I care about. That's what you care about. That's what your customers care about. They want you thinking about them. So we want to be able to do that in natural language. And then we're going to need a frontier agent that says, okay, what's the policy around this agent? What am I allowed to do? What am I not allowed to do? And then what are the facts associated with this task that I'm allowed to change? And what's the next step? And an enterprise agent or a frontier agent will simply provide an answer that's grounded in the data that is relevant to that case. This world is coming. You can do this today. It's just that your data is not quite where you want it to be. The tools are a little bit scattered around your organization, and you haven't moved into the future to be able to see where you need to go. So that's just a little teaser. So why now? Well, there's a lot of statistics, but 60% of Google searches are answered without clicks, right? So if you're an online business, you've got to think about some ways of doing things differently. 30% in website traffic drop from search since 2023. That's a remarkable statistic. And here's the one that I think is really interesting. 52% of adults don't want to type. All right? We've all learned to type, and it's an incredibly useful skill. But do you think you can type as fast as an AI? Right? You simply can't. But they can't think. They have no initiative. They can't frame a problem and craft a narrative quite the way that we can. And the other statistic is 70% of manual repetitive work can be automated. So these are just the facts. We just need to do that now. So I'd like you to have a think about, where are you on the AI maturity ladder? Are you aware of AI? So I don't know if you want to, you can put your hands up if you want, but if you're aware of AI, put your hand up. Okay, right, that's a good start. We've got to have some participation here. I'm not here to just talk to you. I need some laughter and a bit of engagement, you know, otherwise it's not as much fun, because we do like to have fun because we're people. AI experimenting, who's AI experimenting? Yeah, okay, good, right. Who is AI, who feels they're AI enabled? Okay, that's about 35% perhaps, okay, according to my definition. And the little, you know, zigzaggy icon I managed to find for that. In fact, AI chose that icon. I didn't actually choose that icon. I said, I want to put this slide up with these 4 things in it, and I need some boxes and I want some icons, and I want you to tell this story. And then I described what I wanted to say. And then the AI agent built that and then rendered it in TypeScript so I could present it. AI integrated. Who feels like those tools are not just ad hoc and kind of positioned with 2 people over here who are doing it and a little group over there, or maybe a team's kind of doing some stuff? Who's got integration? Who's got AI integrated? Okay, we're getting down to the weeds now, not very many. And who feels like they're in a frontier AI organization? Are there any AI native organizations in the room? Yes, okay. Right, they're coming for you. If you're not an AI native organization, these organizations are going to be able to move more quickly. They're thinking about work differently. They've stepped into the future. They're right at the edge of the fuzzy frontier that I talked about earlier on. And my timer has just told me to move on. There are some things that haven't changed, right? So if you've been in tech for a long time, you will have heard consultants and managers and executives and CIOs and everybody else talk about people. And of course, this is really important. But what does that mean in AI? It means an organizational AI-wide policy. Whether you're a small, medium, or a large organization, you need to have a statement of what you are and are not going to do with AI. You have to have a culture of AI adoption in your organization. You have to give people permission. And not only that, but you have to find the people in your business who are scared of AI. Because just because they're scared doesn't mean they don't want to try out new tools. It means they're too scared to take the first step. So I have a fancy title, and I'm reasonably senior in Datacom, and I've been here 18 years, and I've seen Datacom go through at least 3 versions of Datacom, and we're now into the AI edge for Datacom. But I make time for anyone in our organization of 5,400 people to book 15 minutes with me so that I can get them through that first little bit of fear. Who's doing that in your business? Who's making time for the person who knows your customer, who knows a process, who diligently checks things that you don't even know they're checking so that they can come on the journey with you? It's a really, really important part of the process because their career paths are going to change. And of course, we need process, people, process, and technology, the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps, I like to think of them the 3 Ps, but one of them is actually beginning with a T. I've been thinking about how can I get technology and put a P in there, but I haven't quite worked out yet. So we have an AI charter, we have regulatory alignment if you work in a regulated business, and your AI strategy is linked to your business plan. If you've got an AI strategy and you don't have a business plan, then you need to get a business plan because you did the wrong thing in the wrong order, right? Your AI strategy is to complement your business plan. So a frontier organization has a business plan and they have an AI strategy, not just a technology strategy. And of course, you need technology. The most important piece in here is you need a modern data platform. Now, you have got really good data. It's all over the place, of course, but it's actually a lot better than you think it is, because the old technology that you put in place was well designed by software engineers to capture information, structure it and store it and make it accessible. The problem is that it's just not related to anything other than the technology that it's stored in, so you can't interact with it in natural language. So you need a modern data platform. You've got to get that data and you've got to go and find yourself a partner, a vendor, or a really clever engineer or a graduate and bring them into your team, depending on the size of your organization, and start thinking about how you're going to get that data into a modern data platform, because that's what allows you to have a semantic relationship with your data. To become an AI frontier organization, you've also got to be able to imagine what it's going to be like when you've got 30 or 40 agents working in your organization. So you need agent platform orchestration. You can't ignore security and observability and architecture, because otherwise I'd get fired. So then I wouldn't be able to give these presentations. And cyber, if you're having a conversation about AI, and you're not having a conversation about cyber, you're absolutely in trouble, because we don't fully understand yet what AI at scale means in an organization. There are very few large enterprises with truly AI frontier level agent suites running in their organizations. The ones that have had a few accidents here and there. And you might want to consider whether or not you buy your tokens from the globals and have frontier models. Frontier models are really, really useful. They're very powerful. They allowed me to write a TypeScript application in about 3 hours instead of having a PowerPoint application. But what about sovereign AI? What about if your organization cares about other things other than having the fastest model? What if you care about TCAR, right? What if you want to make sure that who you serve is represented in the way you use agents in your business? So maybe you want to consider talking to an organization that can provide you with, your own AI platform, with your models that you've chosen, that you've curated, and you've decided a fit for purpose inside of your business, your culture, and your values, and your customers. So what does an AI frontier organization look like? So we've tried to come up with a picture that abstracts this away, and then I'm going to make it a bit techy because I can't resist it. But there's the front office. This is how customers get in touch with you. This is how they call you, they email you, they message you, they text you, they walk into your shop, they come and visit you on your farm, they contact you through a partner or a supplier. There's a new way of interacting, and I'm going to show you a demo just after this slide of a completely voice-based transaction that is real time and in nature. And the back office is the people who might take some of those lightweight calls in the past, can now, some of that transaction work can be done by people, and the people will be focused on finding the better products to serve your customers as opposed to helping them navigate a product catalog. And then here you've got your modern AI-driven IT. That is not the IT infrastructure you've got today. That means you're actually creating the IT infrastructure all the time. You are building it as you need it, turning it off when you no longer need it, building a new workflow when you need it. Maybe that looks after a product that you have in the market for 3 months. Maybe that product doesn't survive, so you kill that workflow. So a modern IT infrastructure is one that you are continuously changing because we can build PowerPoint equivalents in 3 hours now. And agent-led operations. Oh, it's moved forward. Look, I built a little widget into here that when I run out and I forget to click acknowledge, it's supposed to move my slide forward for me so that when I come back over here, I can see that I've moved on. So that picture that I showed you, this is what it looks like in terms of a slightly more technical architecture. Now, if the sound gods are working, I now want to play a video. So what we're going to show is this is somebody requesting a laptop from their IT department via email, and it's going to automatically transition to a voice-based experience. There's no sound at the beginning. So this is someone typing, getting their request going. They send it off. This is Barry Jacobs. It goes off to the laptop replacement team.
Hi Barry, I see your workstation request has been pre-approved. With a budget of $5,000, based on your role as senior developer, I've filtered to show workstations suitable for development work, and that has higher RAM than your existing one due to your work with tools like Docker, Kubernetes, and multiple IDEs. Which laptop stands out, or would you like me to compare a few options for you?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think 32 gigabytes of RAM is just not enough for me, so it would have to be 64 gigabytes of RAM or more, please.
No problem, Barry. I've updated the display to show only workstations with 64 gigs of RAM or more, which should be much better for your Docker and Kubernetes workloads. Would you like me to compare some of these options for you?
Oh, beautiful. I do also travel quite a lot for work and, would need something quite lightweight. Working on a plane with something bulky is really hard.
I found the ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 5 with 64 gigs of RAM, perfect for Docker and Kubernetes on the go, and it's within budget. The runner-up is the Asus ZenBook Pro 16X OLED. Want me to add the ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 5 to your cart?
Can you go and add it to my cart and check out, please?
Great, I've added the ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 5 to your cart. Now let's head to checkout. We're now at the checkout page. I can fill in your information for you, your name, email, address, and cost center. Would you like me to do that?
Yeah, sure. That'd be great.
Done. I've filled in your name, email, delivery address, and set the cost center to engineering 2024. Please review and hit submit when you're ready.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much for your help. That was really easy.
You're very welcome, Barry. Just hit that submit button to send it off for approval.
Okay, so that, who can tell who is the model and who is the human? It's not quite there, is it? You can still tell it's a little bit stilted when they're reading out the product description, the Zen book, this, that, and the other, but it's pretty good. Now that is a real-time demo. That is not smoke and mirrors. That works exactly as I've shown it you today. So you could have somebody come to your portal in your customer environment and have an interaction like that. That's a really good experience. That's today. And this is not expensive to produce. That's the other factor that you have to consider, is when you step forwards into the fuzzy frontier, you start to get access to this kind of technology. So you need to dream a little. You need to dream, what if this was it? Could this do for me in my business? Now, you've got that agent in production. So my slide has caught up with me a little bit, unfortunately. You've checked this model and you've tested it. But how do you know that it's doing what you want in production? Because as soon as you deploy this onto your website and people start interacting and ordering laptops, you could be doing thousands, if not tens of thousands, of voice-based transactions with an agent. What if the agent kind of forgets something, or somebody tries to trick it by putting in a different kind of conversation and tries to inject some language into it to get it to do something that you don't want? So not only do you have to test your agents before you put them into production, but you have to assure them. So an AI frontier organization has a concept in its mind called agent assurance. And this is a new budget line item. This doesn't exist in technology today. Where it does exist is manufacturing. Any manufacturing organizations here? Okay, who does quality control in their manufacturing organization? Right? I hope so. So agent assurance is manufacturing quality for agents. Because if I have a CNC machine and I've calibrated it to build a widget, and that widget has to be within 3 or 4 microns, and because of the vibration in the environment, my CNC machine drifts and it starts to produce a 5 micron or a 6 micron widget, I need to be able to make sure that that widget doesn't get shipped out in a box with 30,000 other widgets and end up at my customer, and then they put it into their machine, and that micron, that very important thing, is no longer got the right tolerances and it breaks the machine downstream. Right? So that's what it's like. When you're dealing with physical things, it's really too easy to imagine the failure modes. My gear is going to go into a gearbox, and a motorcycle at 300 kilometers an hour on a racetrack is going to explode because the gear isn't exactly working properly. Now I want you to translate that to virtual things, and agents are virtual. So we've got to translate from the physical, which is a gear that we know how to control in a manufacturing quality. We sample it and we do all of this work. You've got to build that mentality around your agents. So as soon as you start having agents talking to agents, it becomes even more important. But that's going to happen, right? That voice control agent was an agent that does voice talking to an agent that reads the product catalog. That's agent to agent, right? So you've got to be in control of this stuff. So it's not new technology though. Cumulative sum distributions and all this other clever statistical gadgetry has been around since the dawn of time from a technological perspective, and we just need to apply it to this new world. Okay, what would it look like if you had agents in your organization, right? This is actually the main reason why I wanted to build my PowerPoint, is because I can't do this in PowerPoint. I can't run. This is calling a live API at the back end on my laptop. It's running locally on my machine. And what I've got is I've got some agents doing some work, and they're simulating a different types of transactions that might be happening. And I've got some people in there who are auditing that. So you can see I've got a dashboard and there's things happening. And I've got an assurance profile called version 1.42. This is just like what it would be like in a manufacturing. So I'm going to trigger an alert. So you can see here an alert just showed up. Now that means that somebody who was auditing an agent's behavior has said, hang on a minute, this agent's no longer providing the customer experience that it's supposed to. And it offered a product discount greater than it was supposed to. And that's not what I want to happen. But I detected it because I've got an audit and I've got an assurance profile. And then I raised it with the team and we fixed it. And now my assurance profile goes to version 1.43, which says we're going to sample the discount agent a little bit more carefully because we don't trust it like we used to. Maybe we get it back within spec, but maybe we don't. Okay. I'm going to skip that slide, which is really nice. Now I'm going to get back to people. So roles deepen, they don't disappear. So your frontline staff today click on systems and they read scripts and they fix one case at a time. these same people who do all of this work, they've been quietly thinking about how they could do it better. Of course they have, because it's actually a little bit boring doing mechanical repetitive work. So there are thinking people in there thinking, I could make this process better. I don't know why they designed it this way. Who would have done it like that? Right? Who's had that thought in the head when you see someone in a way and you go, that doesn't make sense. They weren't thinking about me when they built that. Those same people can now own the outcome of this agent because they've been thinking about how they can make it better. And they can check for the exceptions, and they can improve the agent behavior. So they can be responsible for quality, not just tactical work. That's lifting people up, right? This is a more demanding skill for which we have these incredible 100 billion neurons in our head. And the experts, a lot of experts spend most of their time firefighting today, right? Dealing with incidents and writing run books and dealing with escalations. If we can constrain an agent to do a task, we need to set the standard. What's this agent's capability? What do we want it to do? What do we not want it to do? We've got to calibrate it, just like the engineer in a factory who calibrates the CNC machine and makes sure that it's within 3 or 4 microns, because that's what the specification says. And then we've got to manage these populations of agents at risks, at scale, sorry. And then leaders are sponsoring projects and they're approving budgets and they're receiving reports. The mindset shift of an AI frontier, a leader in an AI frontier organization is setting the risk appetite. What is our risk appetite for AI in our organization, for our customers, for the services we provide, and understanding what that means? And they're responsible for the agent assurance to make sure that these agents actually do what you wanted them to do, so that you find out before they end up in the papers, and they're investing in literacy in their organization. Now, I've got a little bit more time because Justin finished early, so I did want to do another video, another demo. Okay, right. So in a moment, I'm going to mention something called an AI lab, and every organization who wants to be a frontier organization needs an AI lab. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do it yourself. It means you need to have this idea of an AI lab where you are doing not just experimenting at the task level, but you're experimenting at the fuzzy frontier, working out what you can do with this technology that you haven't really imagined today. So we have an AI lab. I was lucky enough to be the first person to run AI lab at Datacom, and then I handed it off to another worthy engineer. That team has produced the following demo. Now, we didn't have a lot of time, so I've cut this demo a bit short, but this is generative user experience. I'm just going to tell you what that is, which is there is no fixed form or application waiting to be rendered on screen. You set up a profile and say, I am Joe, and I like this kind of information. I like graphs, and I like tables, and I like small tables. I like more data rather than less data. And you define your profile, and then when you launch your application, it builds the profile on the fly for you.
Hey, a quick demo of DataPay Omni. Omni is a fully generative UI application that we've created. It's persona-driven and tool-driven, so whatever it's got access to, whoever you are and what you need to do, it'll be a completely customized experience. So I've got 2 pre-set up personas for this payroll-driven example. We've got John, a payroll administrator, Jane, a payroll consultant. So I'll jump into John, click New App. What it's doing here is basically completely generating a new UI, new dashboard landing page tailored to John and what he's doing, and based on the tool calls that it makes, what he needs to action today. So you can see it's generated this dashboard page for him with some information about timesheets, some messages that need his attention that he can jump into, dealing with Teams, emails, messages, timesheets, all of that all under the one interface. It's given him some suggested next steps of things that he might like to do. Obviously, for like a data entry role like this, you're going to have a lot of frequent tasks. So any interface that gets generated, we can also pre-save those. So we've got add a new employee or a timesheeting one. I can open that up. All this information gets re-queried on the fly as you use it. So he's got a data entry interface. He can review and approve timesheets. He can run reports. So he can see what's the status of all of the submitted timesheets that he needs to address. So I'm going to jump into a different persona now and try Jane. So the look and feel will be completely different. You'll notice she's also got...
Hello, Jane. Good to have you on. How can I assist with your payroll tasks today?
So we'll give voice a try. hey, I need to run the payroll for last week, please. Can you bring up all timesheets for the week ending Sunday just gone so we can have a look at it? While that's generating, can you tell me a bit about what's happening, what you're doing?
Pulling up all timesheets for the period ending last Sunday, including their submission and approval status. Once it's ready, you'll see a comprehensive list to review before we run the payroll. The timesheets for last week are now on display. You can see which have been submitted, approved, or are still pending. Let me know if you want to drill into any specific ones or move forward with the payroll run.
Cool. So from here, the next steps can be to click one of the suggested actions, type our own prompt in, or simply just talk to it and have a fully generative UI experience.
Okay, so a couple of quick slides here. I'm just going to show all. If you're thinking about becoming an AI frontier organization, then you need to put some things in place that may not exist today. You need an AI council, and your leadership needs to drive this. It is not something you can delegate. You need to do it together, but you have to have it aligned to your business strategy. An AI center of enablement. This is where you actually have people who are collected together to make AI work inside of your business. An AI lab, which I've just demonstrated, and you need to invest in AI domain experts, people who can use AI in different parts of your business and different domains, be it recruitment. Doesn't really matter, be it recruitment, be it supply chain, be it customer service. You need to have people who know how to do this. And I'm going to beat this drum. You need to think about agent assurance, because trust me, I've talked to a customer, they've got 25 agents in Copilot Studio. Copilot Studio is very powerful. They suddenly have all of these agents doing work, and they found an agent that was accessing a piece of information that they didn't think it could get access to, but they hadn't actually just checked it properly. So it's happening. So you need to be thinking about agent assurance. And I'll pass on that, and I'll leave you with this last thought. Frontier is a discipline. It doesn't happen by accident. You have to think about the things that you need to do to make this happen. Just enabling AI, that's not enough. Leadership is collective. You have to bring leaders together. You can't just have all these individual leaders doing things independently. Federating it out and letting different parts of your business do this independently, that doesn't scale. They're going to clash later on. Take your people with you. Thank you very much.